Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Monday, January 19th, 2026. And if you're just waking up, you're grabbing your coffee, maybe casually checking the golf scores on your phone, you might be tempted to think this was just another standard week in professional golf, and you would be absolutely 100% wrong.
Couldn't be more wrong. No.
Yeah.
This is one of those weeks where the scoreboard, it doesn't tell even half the story.
We have had a week that's defined not just by who won, but, arguably more by how people lost.
And spectacularly lost.
Yes. We've got a total meltdown in Dubai involving some of the biggest major champions in the sport. And then we have a breakthrough victory in Hawaii that happened in front of what reporters are calling worryingly empty stands.
It really was a tale of two very different tournaments, wasn't it? On one side of the world, you have the DP World Tour just delivering absolute chaos, heartbreak, drama.
On the 18th hole, no less.
Oh, yeah. And then on the other, you have the PGA Tour dealing with what feels like this sort of quiet existential crisis about its schedule, its history, its whole future, really.
Exactly. So for today's deep dive, we are pulling from a massive stack of sources to make sense of it all. We've got the weekly Global Golf Report, some really sharp on-the-ground reporting from Jeff Shackelford and Fox Sports.
Right.
Deep dives from Maui Now on that whole situation in Hawaii, and of course the latest official rankings.
And our mission today is to connect these dots. I mean, we are not just reading you a leaderboard here. We need to unpack the drama at Dubai Creek, figure out why the vibe in Hawaii was so, funereal.
Yeah, that's a strong word.
And look at the huge structural changes looming for 2027 that are making everyone, from the players to the fans, just a little bit nervous.
So let's jump right into the fire. The Dubai Invitational. It's Sunday afternoon. You look at the leaderboard. You see Rory McIlroy. You see Shane Lowry. You think, okay, the heavyweights are here.
Or this is going to be a battle of the Titans.
Yeah.
That was the script everyone wrote in their heads.
Yeah.
It's set up perfectly.
But golf.
But golf, as we know, it rarely follows the script. The winner ended up being Spain's Nacho Elvira. Now, to give you some context, Elvira came into this week ranked 190th in the world.
190th. That is a long way down the list to be hoisting a trophy against that kind of field.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And he even admitted afterwards that he's usually a slow starter to the season. He literally said, if you had told me on Tuesday that I was going to be winning this, I would never have believed you.
Wow.
He shot a steady final round, 69, to finish at 10 under.
Oh.
But, and no disrespect to Nacho, who played a fantastic round, the real story here isn't his 69.
No.
It's the collapse of the guys chasing him.
Okay, let's unpack this collapse, because disaster is the word being thrown around in all the reporting. Shane Lowry, he is leading by one shot heading to the 18th tee. One hole to go. He's got one hand on the trophy.
And this is where that course design just meets raw psychological pressure. The 18th at Dubai Creek Resort is an absolute monster. It's a 423-yard par 4.
And it played tough, right?
It played to a scoring average of 4.6 on Sunday.
Wow, 4.6. So statistically, that par 4 was playing closer to a par 5 for the field.
Exactly. It was the hardest hole on the course by a lot. It just demands perfection. So Lowry steps up, finds a greenside bunker with his second shot.
Okay, let's pause there. For a player of Lowry's caliber, he's arguably one of the best short game players in the world, a guy with incredible hands. You expect a sand save.
You expect a sand save. Or, at the absolute worst, a bogey to force a playoff with Elvira.
Right. He's in the sand, but he's Shane Lowry. You figure he hacks it out 2 putts and we go to extra holes.
But here's where it just gets painful. He hits his third shot out of the trap. It lands near the hole.
Okay. Looks good.
For a second, yeah. And then it just doesn't stop. The green is so fast it slopes away and the ball just races off the surface and straight into the water.
Into the water from the greenside bunker. That is the kind of mistake a 15 handicapper makes at their local muni.
It is.
Not a major champion leading a tournament.
It's the stuff of nightmares. It's a result of trying to be too cute with the shot, misjudging the release, and that water hazard is just sitting there waiting to punish any error. He ends up making a double bogey.
The double.
He falls from the solo lead into a tie for third at 8 under.
That has to be just devastating. And we should talk about the financial hit, too, because in pro golf, every single stroke is cash.
Oh, it's a massive swing.
Yeah.
That double bogey cost him the difference between a check for roughly $467,000, which he would have gotten for second place alone.
Right.
And the $130,000 he actually took home.
That is a $330,000 swing on one bad bunker shot. That stings, even for a pro. And Lowry didn't really hold back in his interview afterwards, did he?
No, he was visibly distraught. He didn't give that standard, I learned a lot PR answer. He told reporters, "That was a disaster. I've just started my 18th season on tour, and I'll never figure it out."
I'll never figure it out. That is such a rare moment of raw vulnerability.
Yeah.
You don't often hear a guy with a claret jug say something like that.
No.
It really just shows how this game can break you mentally, no matter how good you are. And Rory McIlroy wasn't exactly sharp either.
No. Rory also bogeyed the 18th to join that tie for third. It was a rough finish for him, too. Now, it is worth noting Rory was testing new cavity back irons this week.
Okay, so for the listeners who aren't total gearheads, why does that matter? Rory usually plays those muscleback blades, right?
Correct. Blades are less forgiving, harder to hit, but they offer maximum control. Cavity backs are generally more forgiving, they help get the ball up, and they minimize the damage on off-center hits.
So he's looking for a little help.
Yeah, the fact that Rory is testing them suggests he's looking for a bit more help with his ball striking, maybe trying to make the game a little easier on himself. He admitted he wasn't very sharp and was kind of treating this event as a diagnostic test, but still. The 18th hole alone produced 11 double bogeys or worse on Sunday.
11. Just carnage.
It was.
So Elvira picks up the trophy amidst the wreckage. A huge, life-changing win for him. But let's fly halfway across the world to Hawaii, the Sony Open at Wailea. This is usually a celebration of the new season, palm trees, good vibes.
Right. But the reports coming out of Honolulu this week were different. Funereal was the word Geoff Shackelford used in his report.
That is a very strong, very dark word for a golf tournament in paradise. Why the gloom?
Well, there are two layers to this funereal vibe. First, there's the immediate context. Usually the Sony Open follows the Sentry at Kapalua on Maui.
The 2-week Hawaiian swing.
Exactly. All the big stars play Kapalua, then they hop over to Oahu for the Sony. But remember, the Sentry was canceled this year.
Right, due to the drought conditions and all the logistics issues on Maui.
Yeah, so without that lead-in event, the ecosystem was just broken. The crowds at Wailea were light. Shackelford reported empty grandstands. It didn't have that buzzing energy of the season opener because the stars weren't all there and fans didn't travel over from Maui. It just felt isolated.
But reading through the sources, it seems like there's a deeper fear here, too. It's not just about this year's attendance. It sounds like people are worried this tournament is actually dying.
Correct. There's a genuine fear that the Sony Open is a dead tournament walking. We are hearing credible reports about the PGA Tour potentially downsizing the schedule for 2027. The rumor is the PGA Tour CEO, Brian Rolapp, wants to create scarcity, fewer tournaments, bigger impact, higher stakes.
But Wailea has been hosting since 1965. It's the fourth longest continuous host venue on tour. Losing that would be historic. It's like part of the fabric of the tour.
It would be a massive cultural loss. You have Mark Rolfing, who's been the voice of Hawaiian golf for decades, saying plainly, January is not going to be the future of golf here on Maui.
Wow.
The proposal on the table is starting the season in February around the Super Bowl to avoid competing with the NFL playoffs, if that happens. Well, where does a January event like the Sony Open fit? It's just left in limbo.
That is a huge shift. We're talking about ending a 60-year tradition because of NFL ratings. But despite the weird vibes and the empty seats, we did have a golf tournament, and we had a winner who just absolutely crushed it, Chris Gotterup.
A massive breakthrough for Gotterup. He shoots a final round 64 to finish at 16 under, beat Ryan Gerard by 2 strokes, and if you look at the stats, Gotterup was just an absolute machine.
I saw one stat in the report that just blew my mind. He made over 300 feet of putts.
313 feet of putts, to be precise. He gained 5.1 strokes on the greens. That is an absurd number.
Oh, insane.
Basically, if you looked at the hole, the ball went in. But he also hit 34 of 56 fairways. And Wailea is tight, it's technical, it's windy, you can't just bomb it anywhere.
Now, here is where I want to dive a bit deeper, because this connects to the course architecture. Gotterup credited his comfort level to the architecture of the course. Usually guys just say, I like the grass or I like the views, but he was specific about the feel of the design.
Yes, this is the aha moment of the week for architecture nerds. Wailea is a Seth Rayner design. Now, for those who don't know, Seth Rayner was a legendary architect from the early 20th century. He wasn't about naturalism in the modern sense. He was an engineer. He used, geometric shapes, square greens, steep bunker faces.
And these template holes, right. Break that down for us.
These are specific hole designs like the Redan, the Biarritz, the Road Hole that Rayner and his mentor, C.B. Macdonald, adapted from famous Scottish courses. They require very specific strategic angles. You can't just hit it straight. You have to approach the green from the correct side to access the pin.
It's like a puzzle.
It's extremely geometrical and strategic. Yeah.
And Gotterup is from New Jersey, right? That seems like a long way from Hawaii.
It is, but here's the connection. He grew up playing Plainfield Country Club in New Jersey, which is also a famous Seth Rayner course.
Ah, okay.
He mentioned that even though the grass is different, tropical Bermuda in Hawaii versus bent grass in the Northeast, the angles and the strategy felt like home.
So he sees a square green or a specific bunker placement, and his brain just kind of knows what to do.
Exactly. He said, it's just the way you play the golf course reminds me a lot of how I grew up playing. It's like muscle memory, but for course management. He knew he had to attack from certain angles because he's seen those geometric puzzles his whole life at Plainfield. That familiarity just allowed him to play aggressively while everyone else was trying to figure out the wind.
That is fascinating. It really shows that golf isn't just about hitting the ball, it's about solving the puzzle of the ground. So Gotterup moves into the top 20 in the world rankings now. A year ago, he was outside the top 200.
It's a meteoric rise. And critically, this win gets him into the Masters. He finished third at the Open Championship last year, so we knew the talent was there, but this validates him as a winner on tour.
Before we leave Hawaii, I have to shout out one other name from the leaderboard. Vijay Singh.
The big Fijian, 62 years old.
Made the cut, finished tied for 40th at 5 under, beating guys a third of his age. That is just incredible longevity.
It is. He's arguably working harder than half the guys in their 20s.
Yeah.
He's still a range rat. It's inspiring to see.
It really is. Okay, speaking of the Masters and dreams coming true, let's pivot to the amateur game. While the pros were stressing over money and rankings, there was a life-changing event happening down in Peru.
The Latin America Amateur Championship, or LAAC, this is arguably the highest stakes tournament in amateur golf. We are not talking about a trophy or a scholarship. We're talking about the golden ticket.
Explain the golden ticket.
The winner receives exemptions into 3 major championships: the 2026 Masters, the U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills, and the Open at Royal Birkdale.
Wow.
For an amateur, that is an entire career's worth of dreams wrapped up in one weekend.
And the winner was Matteo Pulcini from Argentina. But man, did he have to sweat for it.
High drama. Pulcini's 25 years old, so he's a mid-amateur. He's older than the college kids he's playing against. He has a bit more life experience, maybe a bit more scar tissue. And he ends up in a playoff with Virgilio Paz Valdez from Venezuela.
And the playoff came down to a mistake on the second extra hole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Paz Valdez overshot the green, flew it into the trees. He was just dead to rights. He couldn't get up and down for par. Pulcini just needed a 2-putt to win, and he drained it.
I loved Pulcini's reaction afterwards. He was so honest. Usually guys puff out their chest and say, I'm ready to win the Masters. But Pulcini was talking about Shinnecock Hills, which is just notoriously difficult. And he said, quote, I'm scared. I'm scared of the rough.
It's refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is a real human reaction. Shinnecock Rough is legendary.
Oh, yeah.
He's visualizing playing these historic venues, but he's also realistic about the challenge. He talked about how he visualized being 3 up on the 18th every night before he went to sleep. The reality was a stressful playoff, but the result, holding that trophy, was the same.
It's a great story. Now, we can't do a global wrap-up without addressing the shifting landscape of the sport. We hinted at it with the funereal vibe in Hawaii, but over on the live golf side, things are moving too. And we have a headline that I honestly didn't think we'd see again. Anthony Kim is back.
The Yeti has returned. Anthony Kim, the cult hero who disappeared from pro golf for 12 years due to injuries, has officially earned his way back onto a roster.
He played in the Livy Promotions event in Florida, top 3 earned spots for the 2026 season. And AK made it.
He did. And he came out swinging in the press conference, too. He said, I'm glad I earned my spot so everybody could quit talking. Well, he used a colorful word for trash.
He's clearly playing with a chip on his shoulder.
He is. Remember, his return in 2024 and 2025 was rough. He was rusty. He got relegated. He had to go to Q schools, essentially. So doing this on merit, shooting under par when it mattered, that's a big deal for his confidence. He wants to prove he's not just a nostalgia act.
Now this brings us to the biggest structural news of the week. LIV is making changes for 2026 that seem, well, familiar.
They are. ILV is moving to 72-hole events. They're increasing the field size to 57 players. They're increasing the purse to $30 million.
Hang on. 72 holes. That's the traditional format. That's what the PGA Tour does. That's what the majors do. Why the change now?
It's all about the official World Golf Ranking, the OWGR points.
Yeah.
Livy has historically been denied points because of the 54-hole shotgun start format.
Right.
The board said it wasn't a comparable test to other tours. By moving to 72 holes, Levy is trying to remove that objection. They want their players to earn ranking points so they can qualify for majors without relying on special invites or past champion status.
So let's step back and look at the big picture here, because this leads to what we're calling the convergence theory. This is where it gets really interesting.
It is the irony of the decade.
On one hand, you have Levy moving to 72 holes, looking more and more like, traditional golf.
Exactly.
And on the other hand, you have the PGA Tour potentially shrinking its schedule, creating scarcity, smaller fields, maybe starting later in the year. That sounds a lot like a league.
It really does raise an important question. Are we watching a slow convergence? The two rival tours seem to be morphing into versions of each other.
It's unbelievable.
Livy started as the Rebel exhibition style, but is now adopting the competitive standards of the tour. 72 holes, cuts, serious qualifying. And the PGA Tour, which mocked Livy's model, is now adopting that exclusive condensed season model that Livy started with.
It's almost funny if it wasn't so serious. They spend years fighting each other in court and in the media, only to start mirroring each other's best features.
That is the nature of competition, I suppose. You eventually adopt what works for the other guy. But here is the problem with convergence. Caught in the middle are events like the Sony Open.
Right.
Historic, joyful, community-based events that might not fit this new league model.
That is the collateral damage. When you chase a global product that's optimized for TV ratings and streaming numbers, you risk losing the charm of a 60-year-old tournament at YLA. That funereal vibe Shackelford mentioned wasn't just about empty seats. It was about the uncertainty of the future. The locals know something is changing, and it might just leave them behind.
Absolutely. It feels like 2026 is going to be a real pivot point. We're seeing the friction in real time, the soul of the game versus the business of the game.
Well, while the boardroom battles play out and the executives trade strategies, the game itself goes on. What should we be looking out for next week?
We stay in the desert. The DP World Tour moves to the Hero Dubai Desert Classic. Rory McIlroy is the defending champion there. After the disappointment at the Creek and that 18th hole disaster, he's going to be hungry. He does not like losing like that.
No, he does not. And finally, the women's game kicks off.
Yes, finally, the LPGA season opener is here. The Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions will see Nelly Korda, currently a world number 2, chasing down Gino Thitikel, who is sitting at number 1. It's going to be a great battle for that top spot right out of the gate.
I can't wait. There's just so much happening. Before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you said about Anthony Kim.
About him silencing the critics.
Exactly. He told people to stop talking trash now that he's earned his spot. In a way, isn't that what the entire sport is doing right now? Every tour, every player is trying to justify their existence in this new landscape.
That's a great point.
The exhibition label is fading from Levy with the 72-hole change. The bloated label might fade from the PGA Tour if they cut the schedule. Everyone is trying to prove they are the real deal.
That is a great perspective. It's an identity crisis and a proving ground all at once. Is Livy real golf? Is the PGA Tour still the premier league? Is an amateur ready for Shinnecock? Everyone is trying to answer the question, do I belong? And lucky for us, we get to watch it unfold.
Thank you for guiding us through the chaos. And to you listening, thanks for diving deep with us. Make sure you check your feed next week. We'll be breaking down Rory's rebound attempt and the start of the LPGA season. You won't want to miss it.
See you then.